Hey guys, this is Matthew Siclosi, the host of the Island Podcast. So today we got a little bit of a special treat for you. Me and my buddy Corey Sutton, we did a little bit of a mini episode. We had trouble like tech issues and all this stuff trying to get an episode going and time constraints, and so we just did like a little over 20 minutes, and so I figured I'd edit that, get that out quick to you guys, just a little bonus here. Also, I'm going to be working on the Patreon tomorrow, trying to fix that and just trying to do something different. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. I am going to drop it down to $1, so you can support the podcast for $1 a month. I'm not going to put anything on that other besides just general support for the moment. I'll still put it up so that you have access to, I think it's the four Patreon episodes that I've put up thus far. You'll get access to that right away. And but besides that, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with that. We'll see once I start playing around. But yeah, I will be dropping that down to just $1 a month, and we'll see where we go from there. If you have any suggestions at all, please shoot them my way. What would you like to see maybe me do on Patreon or just in the podcast in general? And yeah, we can go from there. So I hope you enjoy. I'm hoping, and we did discuss, I am gonna try and have Corey back on for a full length episode, and I think that's pretty great. So without further ado, the Minisode. Okay, good day, listeners. This is the Island Podcast, and today we've got lawman Corey Sutton on.
How are you now?
Good, and you?
Not so bad.
So I had one question I want to ask you, and that's, why do you hate German people?
We're just starting right off the hop here.
Oh yeah, that's how we do.
I mean, hate is a strong word, but I mean, like, they did cause
venomously hate is the words I think I remember you using.
Yeah. They caused 2 world wars. That's a lot of death. That's not great. I mean, like, the rest of the world seems to be over it, but speak for yourselves. Not quite over the whole, like, it's only been like 80 years, so not quite over that yet. Sorry, viewers from Germany, but not Dankeschön. But yeah, no, just not over the whole World War thing. You still elected a Nazi. In fact, the whole party of Nazis. So still not there yet. Argentina, don't sleep. I'm looking at you too.
No, see, I would argue that the French are more to blame, especially for World War II.
Why is that? Because there sucks.
Well, because of the Treaty of Versailles. They wanted to impose essentially 2 strict regulations on it, and that's what led to the disparity in Germany. Yeah,
true. But why were the French so upset? The Franco-Prussian War. Who started that? The Prussians.
Yeah, but that
are effectively German.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, of course they are. But why did the Franco-Prussian War start? Like, it's a long line of tits and tats that essentially begins with the Battle of Teutoburg Forest.
Okay.
It's what leads to the whole Franco-German rivalry. And you can so technically the Germans do start that, but
again,
the French, I feel the French are more the asshole in this situation. Is that they could have just let it go.
They could have just let it go after they destroyed their countryside, and they already just recently took Alsace and Lorraine.
Yeah, they took Alsace and Lorraine, which was a majority German population. Yes, there was a large French population, but majority
It was also an industrial capital of France at the time, though.
Right.
So economically speaking, and Alsace and Lorraine, yeah, that sounds real German.
Sorry, what's the proper German? It's Lothringen. I forget the what Alsace is, but it's like Lohengrin something or other.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Yeah.
Still taking the L on this one. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm not the greatest proponent of French military strength, but nonetheless, you can't deny German aggression. It's like saying that a Doberman. It's like saying that a pit bull isn't like slightly more aggressive than a Chihuahua.
Yeah, but there's a difference between, okay, you've got this Doberman, it committed and it bit a child or whatever. So what do you do with that Doberman? You would either, you would put it down or you would do nothing with it. You wouldn't maim the Doberman. And then it's only your fault when the Doberman then attacks back.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but if you're going to, so crime and punishment. So yes. You commit the crime, you deserve to be punished. Now, one of the great things is that if you don't follow through with said punishment, that's typically when you get certain levels of appeasement that only Chamberlain can understand. That it devolve into certain areas that just simply don't work out.
Right, but
go ahead.
Okay, what I was going to say was that the country mainly proposing such strict actions against Germany was France. Every other country was just okay with usual sort of fare when it comes to these large European wars. They'd pay reparations, they'd get a slap on the wrist, and they'd maybe lose a little bit of territory, but not as much as they actually did at the end of the First World War. France was the one was proponing. So the reason why you get all these half measures is because everyone was just trying to give France enough to so they would stop crying, and they were still crying years and years after the war.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's kind of difficult for you to realistically quantify the amount of French damages. Like if you look at it, by the time that the landscape, which it still hasn't healed from the war itself, let alone World War II, decimated France.
Oh yeah,
like you've got unexploded shells that are still out there.
Yeah.
Let alone the beaches of Normandy and across the French coast that you can step on a landmine. Like these are actual problems.
Right.
And so as much as you may dislike the French for being cheese-eating surrender monkeys, that doesn't change the fact that German aggression was the primary trigger to the entirety of the action.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I still think the severity in which the French acted was too harsh. And that if they had
on paper, Germans reacted with panzers.
Yeah, but
and the Luftwaffe. Have you heard of Blitzkrieg?
Yeah. But that's in reaction to what the French did. So I don't know. I would have thought that, if the French had acted with a little more restraint, if they had acted a little more even-keeled.
Don't get me wrong. The French overreacted to the situation. But the thing is, no country on its own since Napoleon was able to stand up against all of Europe and make a genuine stand. And even with Napoleon, they were still fighting. Because as much as the Red Army was formed during the First World War, they didn't really have a say in Versailles.
No, not at all. No, it didn't have at all because after the Russian Empire pieced out at Brest-Litovsk, they had no delegation, I think, and none of.
I'm sure they had influence, but not a true delegation.
Well, I don't think the Reds had any at all, and then I think the Whites would have only been minimal.
The Whites would have been nothing, if any.
Yeah. So no, I'm fairly certain that the Reds had nothing.
We should specify. We mean White Army.
Yes, White Army. No, not the White Ethno State.
Okay, we should make that very clear.
What, you don't want to end up on the front page of Stormfront? Or?
Buddy, trust me. Nowadays, I gotta cover your ass, man.
Yeah, I know. I wanted Jared to join in, but he won't because he's afraid.
No, I haven't said anything. The worst thing I've said so far is the cheese-eating surrender monkey thing. But
yes,
that's
so,
fine.
While I've I look at the stat numbers and I know I don't have any German listeners. I know I have at least one dedicated French listener, so I'm sure they'll enjoy.
Well, I'm glad that they have a lovely time.
So I'm sure they'll enjoy that.
But yeah, no. The reality of the fact is, as much as it is German aggression. It is. It's just pure German aggression. There's nothing more that I can really articulate on it.
Yeah.
It's the only real reason why and they sunk civilian boats in World War I as well, which was to be fair, admittedly, it was because of our blockade.
Right. Yes. That was a big, The whole idea behind unrestricted submarine warfare was trying to choke out Britain, which is what Britain was doing to Germany at the time.
Yeah.
So, they say, there was armaments on the Lusitania and all this stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, there was, but still wouldn't have warranted an attack on a civilian ship.
From what I've read, the Lusitania had armaments, but it was small arms.
It wasn't any. Yeah.
You're gonna take a couple of pot shots at them before they go underwater and then nuke you. Come on.
Right.
Realistically, it's a civilian craft. The only time that I think that they had was the British Merchant Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're called. And I forget. There's a term for them. My great uncle was in it too, which I should really know. But basically, they used to disguise ships as merchant boats, and so they wouldn't get sunk. And then the submarine would come up and they'd blow it to shit. And then they're like, okay, well, this will work. But at the same time,
I mean, it was the other thing too is it was also an American ship.
Yeah, who was feeding both countries at the time.
Well, no, they weren't even feeding Germany at the time because of the British blockade. They wouldn't let any, and there was no American who was going to risk running the blockade, really.
True.
To feed Germany, yeah. So it wasn't.
I mean, they had the potentiality to feed Germany if they really wanted to.
They did.
Go to the south to Spain.
If they were, if they really wanted to, they could have. But the Americans were, they were more laissez-faire, and they were just going. It wasn't worth the hassle to them.
No.
Unless they were really antagonistic.
The shipping fees? Shout out to Amazon. What the shipping fees must have been. Oh my God.
Oh, absolutely terrible. No, I did actually research into the blockade my last year at Algoma, and that is probably one of the main reasons why Germany lost the war was the blockade and not being able to. Well, they ran out of nitrogen. That was the main thing, and they'd only just recently.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they only just recently discovered what was it? The Faber method, basically of creating nitrogen out of the air. So they were only producing a limited amount. They were importing most of it from South America, and so the two things you can do with nitrogen is make explosives or make fertilizer to grow food. Guess what Germany prioritized? Making explosives. So they eventually ran out of the feed that they would feed their animals, like their pigs, and then they started losing their pigs and all this stuff. And the Germans were accustomed to a very fatty diet of fatty meats, sausage and all that.
Yeah, even though bratwurst.
Yes, very good bratwurst. And even though they couldn't, they could probably, make enough calories, produce enough calories in food to, feed the population was used to all those good fatty meats, and they feel like they were starving, even though they weren't technically.
I also heard something about so when America went into the war. This is a conspiracy theory. So full disclosure.
Oh, okay. Tinfoil hat.
In World War I, apparently, Wilson wanted to get in because he saw the damage that this could do to America's geopolitical strength, right?
Yeah.
Because with a unified Germany holding all of Europe, you're looking at an industrialized Napoleonic empire, essentially, right?
Yeah.
and they're all cousins, right? Like at the time, everyone's a cousin. So like leadership really wouldn't change from top down.
No. Well, okay. So on that, we actually talked a little bit about Woodrow Wilson last episode.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Just I had an American buddy of mine on, and we talked about some of Wilson's ideals. So Wilson was very much a proponent of like the city on a hill thing, and
Yeah.
he saw America as the great mediator.
Yeah.
And so he kind of kept his hands out of World War I in the beginning, because he felt like, no, he's going to be the one afterwards who's going to be mediating everything, and he's so much holier than thou and all that. And it really took kind of things like the sinking of the Lusitania, the Zimmerman telegram, for him to kind of, feel like, oh, well, it's actually more enlightened to fight Germany. And it was really just a big piss off to, like, especially Britain and France, who were, fighting this war and could have really used the help. Gee, can you stop pussyfooting around, please? And then the other thing with the whole cousin thing is that, the King George, William II, and Nicholas, they were cousins by Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
So they were all related, which is a whole another thing. And and the other thing too is, like, Wilson is very much like, he also had like a Confederate background. Like his father, he was born in Virginia, even though I think he spent most of his later life in like New Jersey. He had a lot of dealings.
He is like by trade a nationalist though.
Yes, very much. He's kind of where the roots of the whole.
I think actually that's when you can say that the Democratic and the Republican Party actually switch.
Well, the actual switch wasn't until the 60s, after the whole civil rights thing. But like Woodrow Wilson, like in the 60s or even today, would be much more considered, I think, a Republican than a Democrat.
Okay. Now, I know this may be a strange request.
Okay.
I need to go to the bathroom. I need to take a leak.
We did this last episode too. Is
this okay?
Cool. Yeah, I'll edit it.
Okay, I'll be back in like a minute.
Yeah, okay. So while he's gone, I'm just gonna make myself a drink. In case you're wondering, I'm drinking rum and Canada Dry lemonade ginger ale. Again, because that's what I have on hand.
I literally brought my bottle.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to get up, and then I gotta get up.
No, I did that too. Oh, what do you got there? Oh, geez, the good stuff.
That's what happens after the pink witter.
Oh, God, geez, you basic white girl.
Anyway, so yes, the conspiracy theory was that Wilson at the time had, so Germany had actually put in, due to fear, because America had been feeding Britain and the Allies with industrial levels of weaponry. And so they kept purchasing them, and sending them over. Some would get sunk, some wouldn't. But Germany decided to cause unrest in America. So they would have to divert their attention to their own personal war effort. Yeah. So they had actually sent a liaison over to Mexico to start an unrest in the South.
Right. Yeah. So that's actually what the Zimmerman telegram is.
Okay. Well.
So that's real. I mean, this is one where the tinfoils are right, I guess. So what happened was so they sent an ambassador or something to Mexico. What they wanted is they want Mexico to join the war on their side. Yeah. And to start an insurrection north. I know they for sure promised them like California and Arizona, and then possibly some of the other previous holdings,
likely New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico, Texas. I think I know for sure they promised. I know it's weird because the borders don't really flow nicely, but I know for sure they promised them Arizona and California.
Basically the big border states.
Yeah. And then they kind of promised New Mexico and Texas. But the problem at the time is the Mexican army was completely fucked. They just gone through a revolution. The United States were literally they had made multiple like expeditions across their border just to make sure, you know, the violence didn't spill over. And that's where some like great American generals, like I think Patton and MacArthur, like got their real first experience in combat was in there
Couple
too.
stars there.
Oh yeah. And so the Mexicans pretty much went to the Germans like, are you completely fucking insane? Like we just can't, we even if we wanted to, which we really don't, we just it's not feasible. So then it was so I think that's what the Mexicans told him. And I think so the reason why it's called the Zimmerman telegram, because that was like the German foreign minister. So I think he was sending a telegram through the Washington cables, just being like, hey, are you sure you don't want to join in? All this sort of stuff. The British embassy had like illegal taps on these American cables. They caught the telegram, and then they had to go to the United States to show them like see, this is what the Germans are trying to do, try and get the Americans in on the war. But they kind of like had to tiptoe around the whole idea that they had, you know, they were essentially breaking the law in the United States.
I'm sorry again. 1 sec.
Sure.
Hello? I can get off. Okay, you seem really upset. Okay. Don't make fun of me.
What? What's going on?
I'm stealing my girlfriend's Netflix. So she just told me, because I have it paused, right? And I'm like,
oh, okay. Oh, okay. I see.
And she's like, it says too many people are on. And she's like, she texted me and I just didn't answer. And she's like, can you get off my Netflix? I'm like, okay, sorry.
Jeez, old ball and chain. You can't just have her Netflix on pause forever.
Well, I didn't think anything of it.
Jeez. You're just...
Hello? Oh, it's okay. I'm off. I'm off it. Oh, it's okay. It was just on pause. I wasn't using it. Don't worry. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. I'll send you a couple bucks. All right. Get some sleep. All right. Bye.
So, does she keep your balls in a like just loose in her purse, or does she have to have like their own separate bag?
I'm never telling her that this podcast exists.
Okay, does any of the guys in the chat, do they know her? Can they get this to her? Because
now my buddy's here. Hey, how's it going? Are you here? All right, I'll be down in a sec. There you go. Bye.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Okay, so that's a very big descriptor of what my life kind of looks like.
Yeah.
It's just one series of shit show after another.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this. So I'm sorry we're so short and so extremely interrupted.
I'm not sure if I'm going to put this on the Patreon, or maybe I might just put it out there because I think this is really good.
Oh, good! I'm glad.
Get access to it. But yes, we got to do a full episode when we both have the time.
I'd actually be down to do a full episode. I'd be down to do a full episode.
Yeah. Did you listen? Did you listen to the one I did with Johnny yet?
No, I have not had it. I have literally not had a moment to myself.
Apparently.
Have you not been able to tell? You've been on the call.
Yeah.
So it's 12:30 now, right?
Yeah.
This is what I figured. I would be able to call you. We could call it quits, but because of all the tech issues and everyone else.
Right. Yeah. That's just how it goes.
Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, we will. See ya.
Take care.